Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, Speak Crime to Me. My name is Elena. On today's episode, I am going to give a quick update on the Idaho 4 murders, introduce you to some new information that had been released, and an update on Bryan Kohberger, the suspect. And I'm also going to introduce you all to a new case about the Microsoft executive that was murdered last February. And this case gets weirder and weirder. So let's dive in. And again, just a quick disclaimer. I am just telling you what I've read, and please make sure to do your own research. I'm not saying that these are actual facts. I'm just saying this is what I've heard. So definitely do your own research. So we kind of got a weird update from a jail inmate saying that Bryan Kohberger obsessively watches himself on the news while in jail. He spends most of his time alone, and he always has a non-impression. Not too surprising, since these things about him being kind of impressionless or having no feelings have come out before. So not too surprising if this is actual real information. But along with that, dozens of sealed search warrants have become public within the last week, and detectives, and what we know from reading through some of these new search warrants is that detectives are still very much gathering evidence for this case. As we know, the first or the next trial or court hearing date is in June, so it doesn't seem like the police work is done yet. So let's just go through what we learned from these sealed documents. So here is what we know. 60 major companies, banks, and law enforcement facilities were served with search warrants, but the contents of those search warrants remain under lock and key. They also have obtained warrants for victims. They also have obtained search warrants for the victims' PayPal and Venmo accounts, in addition to their banking records. So on November 20th of last year, they also obtained a search warrant for Kaylee's Reddit data. On December 1st, they obtained a search warrant for her Yahoo information. On December 5th, on her Google data. And on December 12th, they sought decrypted access to her cloud data from a company called Extreme Networks. After reading an article that had a quote from a criminal profiler suggests that he most likely was tracking Kaylee. Again, we don't know. I feel like it's been back and forth if he was actually tracking Kaylee or Maddie, but here's why this criminal profiler suggests this. He doesn't think it's a coincidence that Kaylee hadn't been living in the house, and then days before the murders, she had posted on her social media, including her public Instagram, images and videos showing that she was back into town. And this profiler believes that that is when Bryan Kohberger decided that tonight's the night he needs to strike. On November 21st, police sought records. On November 21st, police sought records from Meta, which is the Facebook and Instagram parent company, from August 1st through November 20th. And then on November 29th, they obtained a sweeping warrant for her Tinder activity. Again, we're talking about Kaylee. From January 1st to the present, or until she was brutally murdered. That included subscriber info, conversation data, photos, and videos belonging to account holders communicating with Kaylee. The results of those warrants came back roughly a week later, around December 5th, and then detectives then sought search warrants for Morgan, her Tinder data, and another 19 redacted usernames throughout most of November. It happened at the frat party that Xana and Ethan attended that evening. Morgan's Tinder data came back on December 7th, and that same day is when police asked the public for any help or information on the suspect's vehicle, the white Elantra. And it took roughly 2 weeks before detectives sought information from Tinder's parent company, Match.com. Then on December 22nd, again, remember this is all before Brian has been arrested. They sought a search warrant for information on another 20 redacted names from March 1st of 2021 through March 31st, 2021. While they were pursuing these search warrants and getting back the data that they have requested, they were secretly tracking Brian from his apartment in Washington to Pennsylvania. Late November, police sought info on a K-bar sales across the country, serving search warrants on Walmart, eBay, and the manufacturer itself. Then, on December 12th, they obtained a warrant for Blue Ridge Knives, a Virginia-based wholesaler of this K-bar knife. Police then arrested Brian on December 30th to find him in shorts, a t-shirt, wearing gloves, and stuffing his personal trash into Ziploc bags in the kitchen. Police recovered knives, a handgun, masks, gloves, black clothing, computers, a phone, and a dozen other items in that house, in his parents' house, when they arrested him. They seized his Elantra at that time and tore it apart in search of additional evidence. Then on January 3rd of this year, police obtained a search warrant for 2 years worth of data on Brian's Google account. On January 25th, police sought a warrant for his Tinder data from June 22nd until present day. And the same day, they went after his Yik Yak app. Had no idea what this was, but this app allows users to chat based on a 5-mile radius. And then another search warrant for his Dropbox account. So that is a recap on the search warrant data that was publicly released. We really don't know too much about this data. We have redacted names, we don't have clear information, but as you can tell from these documents, they are definitely looking into Kaylee and Morgan quite a bit in their social media and other apps that they were associated with, and how that is in connection with Brian and possibly the motive. So as we can tell, the police is still doing a lot of digging and trying to piece together this puzzle. So some interesting information, kind of letting us know where the case is and what kind of direction they are going in, but we still have lots to find out. So as always, I will keep you updated when I hear anything else. So the Microsoft executive Jared Brigham was murdered on February 16th of 2022. He was a father of 4. He was murdered in the road outside the neighborhood, Sanctuary neighborhood in Jacksonville Beach, Florida. He had just dropped off his twins to his ex-wife's house, and he still had his 2-year-old daughter in the car with him. The daughter he shared with his current wife. He was turning out of the neighborhood onto a narrow, dimly lit section of the road, and a tire had been placed on the street. He opened his door to presumably move the tire out of the way, and that is when he was gunned down in cold blood. Police immediately said that this shooting was targeted. It was an ambush. And the first clue that police released to the public was of pictures and videos of a blue truck around the scene of the murder. His 2-year-old daughter was in the car, witnessed her dad get shot in cold blood, and was in the car until somebody saw her dad laying in the middle of the street and finally called 911. So there had been a lot of speculation about his divorce from his ex-wife, Shayna. She had apparently asked a tattoo artist about someone who could shut him up, meaning Jared. Apparently, there was a lot of hostility with the divorce and child custody, and they did not have a great relationship. Then, January of this year, they arrested a man, Henry Teenan. He was charged with conspiracy to commit murder, second-degree murder with a weapon accessory after the fact to a capital felony, and felony child abuse in connection with the murder. Teenan was a former tenant and handyman of the ex-wife, Shayna, and her new husband. Then, a couple of days ago, Teenan pleaded guilty to second-degree murder charges. And that is when Shayna's husband, Saldana, was arrested. Teenan agreed to cooperate with authorities and testify against Saldana as part of his plea deal. So as mentioned, Saldana is the husband of Jared's ex-wife. He was indicted on first-degree murder charges on Thursday. His full name is Mario Fernandez Saldana. He was charged with conspiracy to commit murder, solicitation to commit a capital felony, and child abuse. Apparently, according to Teenan and Saldana planned the murder together. Now, Jared's ex-wife is saying that herself and Saldana are separated. Apparently, she's now living in Washington or upstate Washington. And the investigation remains ongoing at this point. Teenan did admit that he was the shooter. So that is what we know of the Microsoft executive case. Like I said, this is a strange case. I would not be surprised if the ex-wife gets charged next, because this husband and his friend did not just kill Jared just because. If the ex-wife was asking a tattoo artist about finding someone, she definitely was behind it. She might have not have been the shooter, but it was definitely her idea, and for some reason she wanted her ex-husband dead. This is, like, again, such a crazy and sad case, and I am going to stay on top of this because I want to find out what happens with the husband and the ex-wife and see how this all pieces together. So, thank you all again for joining me here on Speak Crime to Me. Until next time.